Miss WC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm just following up on my fall TBR. I put 12 books on that list, which was very ambitious, but I felt like, well, I have like 3 months to read it, so I'm gonna try to get through as many as possible. And I ended up completing 7 of those books, so I do feel really proud of myself that I was able to get through 7. Some of them ended up being just quick, easy reads. Some were big disappointments. And there were quite a few that I kept wanting to get to, but then my moods were hitting and I was just like, I'm gonna push it back until I'm in the mood to really sit down and read. So I did want to follow up because it was a TBR that I did. Some of you guys watched it, liked it, were intrigued. If you are new and you didn't get to see that one, I will link it. There are some interesting books on there, so maybe if you're looking for something for the winter months, if you're looking for some more diverse stories, there could be some options for you. So I wanted to get caught up on the West Investigation series by Katie Richards, and I'm not quite fully caught up in the series. I think there's like 10 or 11 books at this point, but I am 2 steps closer. So I read Catching the Carling Lake Killer, and I read Dark Water Disappearance. So these are 2 books that have been sitting on my bookshelf for a little while, and they're quick and easy. They're Harlequin romantic suspense. So these are just kind of like, you can read over the course of a day or 2 and be done. And these both have audiobooks as well. So if you are trying to get into romantic suspense, maybe you've never read a Harlequin before, maybe you're just looking for a quick audiobook read, I do suggest picking these up. These are very simple romance stories, but it's like not too heavy on the romance. This particular line is great if you just want a little bit more suspense, if you kind of like those procedural type of tales. And I've been having a good time with this series. I think Katie Richards really does her thing. I liked Catching the Carling Lake Killer just a little bit more than Dark Water Disappearance, but like I said, both of them are good and enjoyable. I don't really have too many complaints about them. They were just brief reads for me. Bad Witches by H.B. Akamiya. So I did a full review, so definitely check that out if you are interested in this one. I was excited to pick this one up because I wanted something witchy, and this promised to be like light, and I love a good urban fantasy. So once I saw like the New York setting, modern day, I'm like, okay, I want to check it out. I thought the author did like pretty good promo for it as well. I had some mixed feelings about this one. So there were parts that I really liked as far as like the setup of the world, and there was this whole storyline going on in this witch's sphere that I enjoyed. But there were 4 POVs we were following in this story, so at times some of the girls did kind of blend and it was hard to differentiate them. It's also not the easiest audiobook listen because there are so many POVs. Like, you can do the audiobook, like the narrator is fine, but I think if to go back in and reread it, I'm just going to do it with my eyeballs. It does get a little info dumpy at points too, so keep that in mind. Like I said, if you want my full thoughts, definitely check out my review. This one is Looking for Love in All the Haunted Places. This was one of my worst reads of the year. It's definitely going to be on that list. This one was not enjoyable. It wasn't like the cute paranormal romance I thought it was going to be. It wasn't a fun haunted house story. I don't feel like the house was utilized in the way that it should. It was very much a slog to get through. I had switched to the audiobook, and even listening to it, I was just like, do I really want to push forward? And ultimately I did, just so I could finish it for the TBR. But if you are somebody who struggles with Berkeley romances, and you are somebody who struggles with small town romance, you are somebody who struggles with slow burn romance, avoid this one. Half Resurrection Blues by Daniel Jose Alder. So this one also took me a long time to read. I think it's just because it starts off so slow. So that really, like, I think it took me like 2 months to read this one. There's been a couple of books that had slower pace this fall where it just took me a couple of months to get through completely. Not to say that they're horrible books, it's just like I feel like I am in the mood where I want something very fast paced, particularly on my fantasies. So when we're taking all this time to develop the world and the characters, sometimes I can kind of like tune out, especially because I have library books coming in all the time. I get audiobooks through Libro. I have new releases I want to check out. So sometimes I'm just like, let me put that aside and like if it's something I'm reading physically, and I will come back to it. So that happened quite a few times for me with this one. Like my library holds came in and I put this one aside. Like I said, it's not a bad book. In this one we're following Carlos, and he's what's called an in-betweener. So he is like not quite dead but not quite alive either, and he's roaming the earth and he's reporting to this special council that sends him on these secret missions. And he ends up meeting this woman and he realizes he killed her brother, so he's trying to keep that from her while dealing with this impending threat. I actually started to enjoy this one more towards the end of it, so I have the rest of this series, and I'm hoping to get to book 2 next year. The Lonely Below, this one is by G. Heron Davis. This was one that I was really looking forward to because, like, look at the cover, come on now. And it has like the academy and it is middle grade. So I was really hoping to love it, and a lot of the time I just felt lackluster towards this. Like it wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't great. And I do have a niece who is 11, so right in the age range for these types of stories, and I just think, would this book actually hold her attention? Because she's not a huge reader anyway. Like a lot of times I give her graphic novels just because they're easier for her to get through, and you know, less words, more pictures, everything like that. And she likes that type of format, but we can read these types of stories together. It's just that I felt like we were getting all this information, but it wasn't fully connecting. It was promising ghost story, and then it wasn't quite a ghost story, which I feel like happens sometimes with these types of stories, where we're getting promised like this haunted academy or this haunted house and like ghosts, and then there's some historical context behind it, and I can see all the different threads like going through the author's mind, but they didn't quite connect. And then the last one that I read was Till the Last Beat of My Heart. That is by Luangi Beaumontes. And that was actually a pretty fun book for the most part. It was one of the few YA books that I've read recently where I'm like, these feel like real characters. They were doing things like celebrating homecoming week, which is a huge deal in high school, and I feel like I never really read books now that are YA where they just have these teens being normal, looking forward to these things. Like, this is senior year. They were getting dressed up every day as you do during that week. And despite this main character finding out that he is a necromancer and it's kind of passed through his family, and his mom and auntie are keeping secrets from him, she did such a good job still maintaining that he is just a teen, that he needs to kind of find his place in his school environment instead of just being a loner. Like, again, these characters often are. There was a little romance going, and his love interest died, and he accidentally revives, so they're running on borrowed time. They don't know when he's going to die again. And so they're making the most of every moment together, which I thought was great. That's a book that I didn't really see around too much or hear people talk about, but I'm hoping more people pick up. I'm always going to champion books in YA that feature black boys as the main characters because we get so few of them as is, and particularly ones where they just get to live. So as far as the books I didn't get to, The Night Ward, I keep saying I'm gonna start it this week. I'm gonna start it this week. I am gonna start it soon, but it might not be a read until holidays. Like, you know, those couple of days after Christmas? Camp Twisted Pine. I picked it up and then I just was not in the mood at all. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't know when I'm gonna pick that up. I need to be in the mood for that type of tale. These toxic things. So I read like 2 things by Rachel Hall and I didn't love them. And so I want to see if she is the author for me. So These Toxic Things and the last one are going to be the 2 final books that I read from Rachel Hall to see if I like her or not. If I don't love those, I'm just going to just decide she's not the writer for me and not read anything else. And I hear so many great things about her writing too. But I don't know, like I said, I just haven't been able to get into her work so far. All that is secret. So I put the audiobook on hold through the library, and then I got a bunch of audiobook holds coming at once. So I ended up like pushing it back onto the next person. And so I'm just waiting for that one to come back around because that's what's going to motivate me to actually finally pick this one up. And it should be coming back in a few days, but fall's gonna be over by the time I get that, so it's just being moved to a winter pick for me. So let me know if you ended up reading any of these books during the fall or just this year in general, because I feel like a lot of them came out this year, or like there's a couple that have been out like for a couple of years now. And or if you've read any of these authors, because I would love to know that too. Like if you've read any of these authors, are there books by these authors that you think I should pick up? If you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!